Well, hi, everyone. It's Betsy.
And it's Trent.
And we have reached the end of our month-long celebration of our year-long journey with patreon.com/neverseenitpod.
That's right. We're at the end of our first year of Patreon, and we could not be more thankful for all of you who have already signed up over there. As we keep on saying, we have a whole lot of fun over there with all of our unique shows. And today we're going to be highlighting our fourth show, which is called The Wayback Machine. Betsy, what is that?
So the Wayback Machine is a device, Trent, that sends us to a random year and a random month, anywhere in a 60-year span of time. And we have to pick a movie to watch that was playing in the theater at the time it sends us. And so this clip is coming from when we were sent to early on in 1960, and we ended up watching Ben-Hur, which was a first-time watch for us.
Yes, there are times that the Wayback Machine does not like our bladder and puts us in 3+ hour movies randomly, and we can't do anything about it.
If you've been listening to any of Never Seen It, you'll know that Trent does not really like surprises. He likes being in control of his destiny. So if you want to get a sense of the exact opposite of those things that he likes, you should tune in to the Wayback Machine because he's not in control of his own destiny.
And to encourage you to go check this out, for the rest of the month, we're offering a discount for first-time members over at patreon.com/neverseenitpod.
So we hope you enjoy this following clip from that episode. Sign up over there and join us into the new year where we're going to have lots more content like this on patreon.com/neverseenitpod.
We'll see you in the new year.
Previously on the Wayback Machine.
Betsy, I think I'm cursed because I'm standing here, I'm looking at a newspaper, and it says May of 1960.
We've gone back
we went
even
farther
farther
back in time to May of 1960. And Betsy, I'm looking at this here marquee on this theater because, of course, the Wayback Machine cannot send us anywhere other than where it wants to show us. This newspaper is also telling me that the movie Ben-Hur is the #1 movie playing right now, which is strange because it's May and it came out in 1959.
But you know what, Trent? I haven't watched it yet.
And neither have I. So, Betsy, I feel like we're going to have to take our medicine here and go in this damn theater and go and watch Ben-Hur. My bladder absolutely hates this machine. And I hope that I have the stamina to get through yet another 3+ hour movie. Betsy, I would like to retract my previous statement
Which is?
that the Wayback Machine really hates us and only wants to show us, really old and bad movies. Maybe not bad movies, but Ben-Hur. We just came out of the theater and God, am I sweaty coming out of that because, it's 1960. There's not a lot of air conditioning places.
No. A lot of smoke in there, too.
A lot of smoke, yeah. So we might be a little raspy here. But that being said, Ben-Hur, that was really, really good. But I'll tell you, I had no idea that this was a Jesus movie.
So there's definitely a part of me that knew this had something to do with Jesus or the Bible, religion, that there was something in there. I didn't know that literal Jesus was in Ben-Hur.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Now, I don't know if I'll go so far as you as to say this was a great movie. I think I've definitely seen better movies from this era. And if I'm going to pick between the epic Bible-related Charlton Heston movies, I'm going to pick the 10 Commandments myself.
Okay.
Because I find that one way more enjoyable from beginning to end. But they are very, very similar. And there were moments in this that I found like, holy fucking shit, now this is a movie.
Right.
But then there were other times where I'm like, okay, this just feels very silly and I don't understand because like there's a prologue about Mary and Joseph going to Nazareth and the star comes and the 3 wise men are coming in and they're seeing Jesus, but we don't actually look at Jesus.
And this is before we even get a title card of, okay, this is Ben-Hur. Those people aren't Ben-Hur.
No, and then they kind of sprinkle it in a couple of times, but for the most part, we do not see Jesus until the very end of the movie. So The thing I was describing to you while we were watching.
This is kind of brilliant.
It felt like when we watch Forrest Gump and they sort of retcon him into historical events where it's like, here, he's at the president meeting JFK. Here, he's on a talk show with John Lennon. It felt like that. Ben-Hur is also there when Jesus was around.
And I think it's just a brilliant observation because, yeah, they are just kind of shoehorning Ben-Hur into these scenarios where, you know, the only like quote unquote historical event is, you know, the crucifixion, and he just happens to be there. He just happens to have a part in that.
Or, well, like he goes past the Sermon on the Mount and he's just like, I'm not interested in that. I've got better things to do.
I got better things to do.
So I definitely forgot that Jesus was in this movie. But that all being said, I also found it very strange how portions of this movie were very homoerotic.
Oh my God. Okay. The first half hour of this movie, Betsy, is the gayest shit I have ever seen in my life.
Judah and Masala are really good friends.
They're very close friends.
And I don't know if it's just the way this movie is written and the fact that it's very theatrical and big. And so they're kind of, it's sort of elevated from a way that we're used to watching movies now in the 2024 present day.
Yep.
But they're just like touching each other and they haven't seen each other since childhood and they're crying and they just, I don't know, there's some weird energy between them where they just are like softly touching and having this competition with spears, and I'm just like, this feels so
all of these phallic symbols kind of wiggling around.
And it toned down a little bit later, but this scene in particular, we were like laughing. It was so uncomfortable.
Yeah, you said sitting in the theater, Betsy, I don't feel like anybody else got the joke that we were in on. I mean, everybody else was very silent during those scenes.
Everyone was smoking their cigarettes and looking at us like we were crazy.
But environment aside, we could not keep a straight face in this, two friends coming together for the first time since they were children.
Yeah, they're just like looking at each other very longingly, and everyone keeps touching Judah. They touch him so much in this movie.
To Judah that I wrote down in my notes on the bottom where I make notes that I definitely want to bring up later. It's drink every time someone touches Judah, because everybody does it, whether they are like doing a loving embrace or like putting a hand on his back or on his arm, his shoulder. Everybody wants to touch Judah,
which is a weird thing because, of course, this is a movie where it says Ben-Hur, the tale of the Christ, or a tale of the Christ, or something like that. And I'm like, are we supposed to apply some of that to this other character? Like there's sort of a parallel story happening where, he wins the chariot race and they say, you are their one true God.
Yeah, you are their God now.
And like you said, people are constantly touching him and he is sort of like miraculously making it out of situations he shouldn't be making it out of. So is there some sort of allegory here about he is also a Christ figure? Because it's not very literal, if that's the point.
No, because there's nobody else who is actually, worshiping him or really listening to what he has to say.
No, he's more a guy who finds himself through circumstances down on his luck, and then he makes a miraculous comeback.
But it's not even that. It's just he's lucky.
He's lucky and he's smart and he's hung up on revenge.
Yeah, that's the thing that is really keeping him going. If Jesus is the yin, then Ben-Hur is the yang. The thing that is keeping him going is anger and rage, as opposed to Jesus, which is all about, love and forgiveness. Mm-hmm. That shit.
And it made me think of like in V for Vendetta. Like this is weird how I thought of V for Vendetta more than once while watching this movie.
Okay.
There's the sequence in that movie where she and V are watching The Count of Monte Cristo. Yep. And she says, I felt bad for Mercedes because he cared more about revenge than he did about her.
Right.
And it's kind of the same thing in this movie. Ben-Hur meets Esther at like the beginning of the movie and comes back and she's still there. And she's like throwing herself at him, but they don't get married. They're just like making out and living in his house together. And she kind of seems like she's pushing him to be like, let's get married and have a family. Meanwhile, he's like, no, I have to get this guy who wronged me and I have to find my family and I need closure.
And even after he does that, he's obsessed with finding his mother and sister.
Yeah.
Even though, they're kind of beyond saving without, the miracle that happened at the end. But we'll
Right.
get to that. So I totally get what you're saying here. And, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head right now, but this movie felt like a lot of things that I've already seen.
Oh, yeah.
There's certain scenes here, certain sequences that have absolutely been ripped off from Ben-Hur, mainly having to do with the chariot race and how that thing was shot and how the characters there are interacting with each other. Like, I can't really count how many times I have seen, scenes of people like riding on horses or motorcycles or in video games where people are like grabbing the weapons from the other person or like being whipped or like chained or whatever from the other vehicle.
Trent, literally, there's a drag race in Greece, and the quote bad guy has those spikes on his tires that tear up the Grease Lightning vehicle.
Yeah.
And that's all I was thinking about in that point was like, it's like Grease Lightning.
Yeah, that's the thing. And this movie has inspired so many other filmmakers.
Oh, you can absolutely tell that there are people who are now, I guess, on the older end of things, but they were kids when this movie came out that were affected by this movie. This is one that is on the AFI list of 100 greatest movies. And I watched it today going, okay, I definitely feel like it's good. I understand there's a shitload of work that went into this. There's a lot of details about it that we could talk about that I appreciated. Would I put it in the list of 100 greatest of all time? I don't think so, but I can see that if you watched this as a kid, it would blow your fucking mind.
If you hadn't seen anything like that before, because like all the things that they were doing here was just so fucking massive. And I think moreover, it isn't, hey, it's a great movie or it's a great story, or it doesn't really stand out in those metrics. But I would say this is a very impressive movie.
It's definitely
for the
impressive.
time in which it was made.
And the people who saw this and were impressed by it, in turn, grew up and made movies that are taken from the same cloth.
It's a fucking spectacle.
Yeah. And it's done in the days where you had to do it for real. Like you were reading some of the behind the scenes trivia about this. That fucking chariot scene, it was the largest set ever constructed up to this point in cinema.
And they had to get all real people as the crowd, because you're not going to be able to fake a big ass crowd like that in 1959.
15,000
extras were brought in there, and they actually built this in Rome.
Right outside the city or something.
Yeah. So that entire sequence, very, very real, other than, the far away background. That's all matte paintings that are added in after the fact.